You were chosen. This message didn't find you by accident. This is divine timing. God brought you here for a reason. You didn't just happen to see this. You were guided, because in a world overflowing with noise, distractions and illusions, your spirit has been on a quiet, powerful path. You've been walking in truth, you've been planting seeds in silence, and now, without any warning, your harvest is on its way. Not because people saw you, not because you were praised, but because heaven saw everything. This is your confirmation. You're about to be rewarded for what you did when no one was watching. We're going to break this down into 7 powerful chapters. Each one will unlock something deep within your soul. But before we dive in, make sure you like, share and subscribe to Elevated Understanding, because this isn't just content. This is a divine message for the chosen ones. If your spirit feels this, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred signal to the Most High and to the universe that you're aligned, awake, and ready to receive what's already yours by divine right. Not everyone will make it to the end. Only the truly chosen will stay. And those who do, they'll gain clarity, unlock deeper wisdom, and step into the blessing that's been waiting just for them. This isn't just something you hear, it's something your soul remembers. It's a living truth, revealed layer by layer. Watch this as many times as your spirit tells you, because each time you'll catch a new insight. A divine key you may have missed the first time. Let's begin. Your reward is already in motion. Chapter 1. The secret battles that no one knew about Chosen One. Let's get real. What you went through wasn't just difficult. It was divine training. You didn't just survive storms. You became the storm that couldn't be moved. You've walked through shadows so dark they could have swallowed you whole. But somehow you kept walking. People think they know you, but they don't know the half of it. They don't know about the sleepless nights, the silent screams, the prayers whispered into darkness with trembling faith. Behind every smile was a struggle. Behind every moment of strength was a breakdown you had to recover from, alone. You didn't have a crowd cheering you on. You didn't have people holding your hand. In fact, the very ones who should have been there disappeared when you needed them most. But you didn't let that stop you. You wiped your own tears, picked yourself up, and kept moving, again and again. You fought temptations when no one would have blamed you for giving in. You faced decisions that tested your morality, your loyalty, your very identity. You attempted to take shortcuts, to bend your values, just to ease the pain, to escape the struggle. But something unshakable in your spirit whispered, no. Don't forfeit your future for momentary relief. And that is what makes you different. You didn't take the easy way out. You chose character over comfort. You chose destiny over distraction. You chose to stay real when being fake would have opened more doors. But you understood something most people don't. Doors opened through deception always lead to destruction. So you stayed grounded, even when the ground beneath you was crumbling. And let's talk about how no one noticed. No one applauded your silent victories. No one saw when you chose to forgive instead of retaliate. No one saw when you chose to be kind when your heart was breaking. No one noticed when you bit your tongue instead of lashing out. You were growing in places that couldn't be seen, but heaven saw it all. God was taking notes. When the world turned its back, the Most High was counting every time you said yes to His way instead of your own. You weren't just passing through pain, you were passing through purpose. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your future. Every lonely night became a sacred offering. And every time you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to give up, you earned spiritual currency that's now ready to be cashed in. You see, what you did when no one was watching is the reason God is about to reward you where everyone can see, not out of pride, not to flex, but to prove that obedience in secret leads to honor in public. What was built in silence is about to make noise. Your private life of integrity is about to attract public favor. Doors will open, opportunities will align, and people will wonder how it all happened. But you'll know. You'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't connections. It wasn't even talent. It was the result of staying true when the pressure tried to break you. It was the result of winning battles no one even knew you were fighting. You didn't need a spotlight to shine. Your soul became light in the darkness, and now the reward is catching up to the quiet choices you made in the shadows. Heaven is not just watching anymore. It's responding. You stayed real. You stayed pure. You stayed chosen. And now the blessings that were held up are being released, because what you did when no one was looking has reached heaven's ears, and heaven never forgets. Chapter 2. Character over clout. Chosen one. In a world addicted to attention, you chose authenticity. While others chased trends, applause, and viral moments, you made a deeper choice, to build your life on substance, not spectacle. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You were trying to stay aligned with who you truly are. We're in an age where people record their kindness, post their prayers, and filter their failures to maintain an image. But you walked a different road. You served when no cameras were rolling. You gave when there was nothing left to give. You showed up for others when you barely had the strength to show up for yourself. That's character. That's the kind of strength that doesn't glitter, but it glows. You could have played the game. You could have faked a smile, played the role, and earned followers for a version of yourself that wasn't even real. But something in you refused to sell your soul for social currency. You chose truth over trend. You chose love over likes. You chose to remain rooted when everyone else was rushing to rise. And let's not forget how lonely that road was. People misunderstood you. They thought you were naive, too soft, too spiritual, too deep. But the truth is, they were intimidated. By the light you refused to dim. While they were busy chasing clout, you were building character. And that's why what's coming to you is different. You didn't plant seeds in shallow soil. You dug deep. Every humble decision you made, every quiet yes to integrity, every moment you could have boasted but stayed silent, it was all recorded in the spiritual realm. You weren't trying to go viral. You were trying to go vertical, straight into alignment with the Most High. And now, those silent sacrifices are turning into loud blessings. Your character is the reason the blessings coming your way will last, because what's built on clout crumbles. What's built on character endures. People who rose fast by playing the game will watch as your steady, honest elevation shakes the very foundations of the false. You see, you weren't being overlooked. You were being preserved. You weren't being delayed. You were being developed. And now, when God elevates you, no one will be able to say you didn't earn it. No one will be able to point to hype or connections or manipulation. It was you, your heart, your faith, and your unwavering commitment to staying real, even when it cost you. And because of that, God is about to reward you in a way that speaks volumes. Your life is about to be the proof that real always rises, quietly, steadily, and then all at once. So get ready. The season of hidden labor is over. The reward won't just bless you, it will announce you, not to the world for approval, but to the realm of spirit, confirming that you were always chosen, always seen, and always destined to rise. Not because of what you did in public, but because of who you were in private. You stayed real when faking it would have been easier. Now life is about to get very, very real in your favor. Chapter 3. Heaven watched you in the wilderness. Chosen one, the wilderness was never a punishment. It was preparation, a sacred place where everything unnecessary was stripped away so that only the real you remained. It wasn't just about testing your strength, it was about revealing your spirit. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That season when everything around you felt empty, silent, and dry. When prayers felt like they bounced off the ceiling. When friends disappeared, opportunities dried up, and you were left with nothing but your faith and your breath. That was the wilderness. and it was holy ground. In the wilderness there were no likes, no applause, no validation. No one was clapping for you. No one was reposting your journey. But even in the absence of attention, you chose excellence. You gave your best when no one was watching. You stayed kind when bitterness would have been easier. You stayed hopeful when everything screamed hopeless. You worshipped in the middle of the storm. You smiled through the struggle. You held on to your faith with bleeding hands. And here's the part most people miss. Heaven was watching. God didn't just allow the wilderness. He walked with you through it. He watched how you handled lack. He paid attention to how you treated others when you had nothing. He observed how you praised him, not because of what you had, but because of who he is. And every moment of loyalty, every act of obedience, every tear you cried in secret, he recorded it all. You weren't abandoned. You were being anointed, because it's in the wilderness that chosen ones are truly formed, not in comfort, but in the crushing, not in crowds, but in solitude. It was in the silence that you learned to hear the voice of God more clearly. It was in isolation that you became internally unshakable. And now that season of divine hiding is shifting into a season of heavenly revealing. Get ready. Don't be surprised when doors open without explanation. Don't be shocked when blessings start chasing you. People around you will be confused. They'll ask, "How did this happen so fast?" But you'll know. You'll remember the nights you almost gave up, the mornings you rose with just enough strength to say, "God, help me make it through today." You'll remember the tears that watered the soil of your future, and you'll smile, not in pride, but in quiet reverence, because you'll know that this wasn't sudden, this was sacred, this was the result of seeds planted in silence, faith grown in famine, and character forged in the fire. You passed the test. You remained faithful when no one was watching. Now the Most High is about to reward you publicly for what you endured privately. This next chapter of your life isn't just a comeback. It's the unveiling of what heaven has been preparing behind the curtain. The wilderness wasn't the end. It was the beginning of everything God promised you. And now the promise is showing up at your door, and it has your name written all over it. Chapter 4. What you planted in the dark is sprouting in the light. Chosen one, understand this. Every seed you sowed in silence is now breaking through the surface. You may have thought no one noticed. You may have questioned if it was all worth it. But heaven saw every single moment. And now the season of invisible growth is shifting into a season of undeniable breakthrough. Seeds don't grow in the spotlight. They grow in the soil, hidden, buried, surrounded by pressure, darkness, and stillness. That's where the real work happens. That's where roots dig deep, strength is built, and destiny is developed. And you were that seed. You were planted, not buried. You were hidden, not forgotten. Every act of obedience, every step of faith, every time you did the right thing when the wrong thing was easier, you were planting something eternal, something powerful, something holy. Let's talk about what you really planted. Every time you chose forgiveness over retaliation, you planted peace. Every time you offered kindness when you were met with cruelty, you planted mercy. Every time you showed up with consistency, even when no one appreciated it, you planted faithfulness. Through the pain and kept showing love, you planted grace. Every time you trusted God instead of taking control, you planted surrender. And that surrender is about to bloom into favor. While others were performing for attention, you were planting in obscurity. While they were chasing validation, you were laying the foundation. While they were sprinting, you were rooting. And that's why what's coming for you isn't just a moment, it's a movement. Not a flash in the pan, but a future that's been divinely prepared and patiently earned. The truth is, people are going to look at you and think it happened out of nowhere. They're going to wonder how you got so blessed, so elevated, so favored. But they weren't there in the dark. They didn't see the pressure. They didn't feel the dirt. They didn't witness the lonely nights, the silent prayers, the discipline it took to not give up. But you will know. You'll remember the seasons when you had to encourage yourself. You'll remember how you clung to faith like a lifeline. You'll remember how you showed up for others with an empty cup. And you'll recognize that this harvest didn't happen overnight. It was built on nights you cried yourself to sleep but woke up determined anyway. So let them wonder. Let them be surprised by your growth, your peace, your glow, your grace. Let them be shocked by the way doors open for you effortlessly. Let them talk, because your harvest is going to humble people, not out of pride, but out of proof. Proof that real effort, real heart, and real alignment still matter. Proof that what you do in the dark does reach the light, eventually in overflowing abundance. But more than anything, your harvest is going to honor you. It's going to reflect every tear, every trial, every test you passed in private. It's going to be heaven's way of saying, "Well done, I saw it all. Now receive it all." So get ready to reap, chosen one. Your roots went deep. Your soul stayed true. And now, what's been quietly growing in the dark is about to flourish in the full light of day. Chapter 5. You passed the tests. Most people fail. Chosen one, life handed you exams that no classroom could ever prepare you for. These weren't paper and pencil tests. These were soul exams. Quiet moments when the universe asked, "Who are you really?" And you didn't just answer with words, you answered with actions. You were tested in secret, tried in silence, evaluated not by man but by the spirit realm. These were tests that didn't come with warning signs or study guides. Tests of your integrity, when doing the wrong thing would have been easier and more profitable. Tests of your patience, when it felt like nothing was moving. Tests of your humility, when your ego could have taken the wheel. Tests of your faith, when everything logical told you to give up. And guess what? You passed. While others panicked, you prayed. While others sought shortcuts, you stood in stillness. While others cursed the process, you chose to trust it. You didn't allow life's chaos to shake your character. You held on to your truth, even when that truth came with tears. You didn't just survive the storm, you matured in it. You learned how to love, not from weakness or neediness, but from a place of strength. You learned how to wait, not in frustration, but in quiet confidence that what's meant for you will arrive right on time. You learned how to shine without needing to dim anyone else's light. You became rooted, not just in your identity, but in your divine assignment. Let's be clear, these weren't small, casual lessons. These were soul-defining initiations. And while many people around you took the easy way out, betrayed their own values, or settled for surface-level success, you chose the higher road, the quieter road, the road of depth. And now your reward will reflect that depth. You're stepping into a season of divine promotions, not because you manipulated your way into position, but because your soul earned the elevation. You're walking into supernatural protection because heaven guards those who guard their integrity. You're being handed provision, not because you begged for it, but because your faith unlocked it. This is the part where people start to talk. They'll wonder how things are shifting in your favor. They'll try to trace your success to something they can see. But what they won't realize is that everything you're receiving now is a result of what you did when no one was watching, when there were no congratulations, when there were no rewards in sight. Heaven is fair, even when people aren't. The Most High watched you hold your tongue when you had every right to clap back, watched you remain honest when deception would have given you an advantage, watched you choose peace when conflict knocked at your door, watched you love people who didn't even know how to love you back. And heaven took notes. So now the tables are turning in your favor, not as revenge, not as payback, but as recognition. The reward is arriving because you didn't just pass the test. You became the kind of person those tests were meant to shape. And in a world that glorifies the easy route, the flashy moves, and the fast rise, your elevation will be different. It will be solid. it will be sacred, and it will be sustained. Because this time, you're not being rewarded by people. You're being rewarded by purpose, and purpose always pays, in peace, in power, and in promotion. You passed the tests most people fail. Now heaven is sending the rewards most people will never receive. Chapter 6. Your reputation in heaven is powerful. Chosen one, listen closely. You may not be famous in the eyes of the world, but in heaven your name carries weight. In the spiritual realm, your presence is known, your battles are recorded, your victories are celebrated, your heart is honored. You have a reputation that echoes beyond the physical, and it's not based on clout, it's based on character. You might not have 1 million followers. Your name may not trend. You may walk into rooms where no one recognizes you, but in the spirit, you're respected, you're feared, and most importantly, you're favored. Heaven knows your name because of what you've done when no one was watching. That time you comforted someone while your own soul was breaking, it was seen. That time you gave your last dollar to help someone else eat, it was recorded. That time you forgave someone who never apologized, it was honored. That moment you walked away from a toxic relationship, knowing it would hurt but choosing healing anyway. That choice lit up heaven like a signal fire. Angels stood in awe as you passed test after test without fanfare. Demons backed off because your quiet obedience disrupted their plans. And God smiled, not because you were perfect, but because you were willing, because you kept showing up, kept surrendering, kept walking when your legs were shaking and your heart was tired. See, your spiritual resume is built not on your outer performance, but your inner perseverance. Every time you chose peace over pettiness, love over hate, faith over fear, you gained ground. You created spiritual momentum. You made ripples in the unseen that are now about to flood your seen world. You built a name in heaven, not one built on ego, but on endurance, not one built on vanity, but on values, not one based on applause, but on alignment. And here's what many people don't understand. Favor follows reputation. When heaven knows you can be trusted in private, you're given power in public. When your heart is consistent, even without a platform, you're handed influence that can't be taken away. The spotlight is a side effect, not the goal. Now comes the return. Everything you gave out, love, time, energy, patience, forgiveness, long-suffering, resilience, it's coming back, multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, because that's the law of spiritual reciprocity. What you sow in sacrifice, you reap in reward. And you didn't just sow with your hands, you sowed with your heart. The truth is, you weren't living for followers. You were living for faithfulness. You weren't chasing man's approval. You were following a divine assignment. And that kind of obedience, it never goes unnoticed. Don't let your quiet past fool you. Your loud future is heaven's way of showing that righteousness always rises. And when God elevates you, no one can block it, deny it, or reverse it. So walk with your head high, chosen one. You're not anonymous, you're anointed. You're not overlooked, you're ordained. You're not forgotten, you're favored. Chapter 7. You're about to walk into rooms. You used to pray about chosen one. The atmosphere is shifting, and it's shifting in your favor. The wind is changing. You can feel it deep in your spirit, that quiet but undeniable pull that something powerful is about to break open. You're not making it up. You're standing on the edge of answered prayers. This isn't hype. This is your harvest. You're about to walk into rooms you once only dreamed of. Sit at tables that once felt out of reach. Speak with people whose names you once whispered in prayer. But here's the truth. It's not because you forced your way in. It's because you prepared for this moment. The world may cheer for hustle, but heaven responds to heart. And you, chosen one, stayed in alignment, even when it would have been easier to fall off track. You didn't just pray for the blessing, you became the person capable of carrying it. When you were overlooked, you still gave your best. When rejected, you kept your spirit clean. When tired, you still poured out grace. When doors felt sealed shut, you stayed on your knees in quiet faith. And none of that was wasted. What's about to open up for you isn't random, it's reward. A divine response to everything you sowed when no one else was watching. This next level, it's not about luck. It's about legacy. It's about alignment. It's about stepping through doors God prepared for you long before the world ever knew your name. Now, the shift begins. Doors are opening, not just because you're gifted, but because you honored the timing. Opportunities are lining up, not because you chased them, but because you moved in purpose, not pressure. People are starting to notice, not because you asked for attention, but because the light on you can't be hidden anymore. You're not just being elevated, you're being revealed. The favor falling on your life isn't just for you, it's a testimony, a sign of what happens when someone chooses character over compromise, calling over comfort, faith over shortcuts. This is your season of recognition, not for ego, not for revenge, but as proof that heaven keeps records and heaven rewards the faithful. You were trusted with little, you prayed in private, you served in silence, you built in the background, and now God says you're ready, ready to carry more, ready to be seen without losing your soul, ready to lead without ego, ready to walk through doors that were locked to the old you, but open wide for the evolved you. So don't shrink back, don't second-guess this moment, and don't apologize for stepping into this level. You're not here by accident. You were called, you were chosen, you were prepared. This is the season where the whispers of your prayers become the roar of your purpose. Walk boldly, and if this message spoke to your soul, make sure to subscribe to Elevated Understanding, where divine timing meets divine truth.